What up, what up, what up? Happy Tuesday, happy Tuesday. At least trying to have a happy Tuesday. Hopefully, your day is going a lot better than the rest of the world. What? Is there a problem?
No, I just don't know what to say.
No, there's a problem.
What?
Oh, man.
Well, yeah, but...
What is going on, everyone? I'm Shadell, co-host of PagingTheSimpsons. I'm joined by my lovely wife.
Lauren.
And boy.
It's about to get heavy up in here. So, if you needed a feel-good, light podcast today, this ain't it.
Yeah, if you want our normal stuff, if you're a new listener, hey, you're welcome. You can stay tuned in if you want to. If you're a returning listener, what up? We're gonna focus on a certain topic, which is race. The
current happenings.
Yeah, for the duration of this episode, I have a lot to talk about. You have a lot to talk about, and it's going to be the bulk of this episode. From now till the next hour or whatever. Yeah. So if you want to rock with us, you can get down and listen.
Serious.
I appreciate you 100%. If you don't, because you don't want to be within this vibe that we're going to be giving off, or however you feel about it, that's fine. Catch us next week. We'll be in better spirits, hopefully. Barring nothing crazy happens. But it's just something that has to be needed and something that has to be said. And if you've been listening to us for a while, you know that we talk about certain topics. I've shared my experiences. This is going to be, I guess you could say, my tell-all episode where it's all in one. I'm just going to give you my thoughts all in one here. So before we get into it, again, just a forewarning: if you're not about, if you don't want to hear it, that's fine. Catch us next week. If you do, thank you. I appreciate you, and we'll get into it.
I personally think everyone should hear it. I think it's important. But if you're not in that mind space right now where you can handle it, I get that too. Because we're still in the pandemic and we're still going through a lot of stuff. So, but yeah.
So, babe, I'm gonna ask that you take a pause, because I don't know what structure I have with this, but I'm just gonna let stuff flow.
Okay.
So, a lot has happened. We were dealing with the Ahmaud Arbery thing, and then that happens. Then George Floyd came up Memorial Day. I'm sure we all know about it right now. Protests, riots, everything happening in all these major cities. And then also you have I think within that same weekend, around that Memorial Day weekend, there was also a Central Park lady, and she called the cop or tried to call the cops on a black guy. A lot of race things happening, and it's about time that we talk about this. I'm gonna first start off with my views, my experiences being black in America, to put something to this. That's what I'm gonna start with. All right, I'll start at the very simplest. Growing up being black in America and having a mom that is telling you, yo, you can't get that water gun. You can't get that cap gun. There was a brief period in my little 5, 6, 7-year-old self that's you see the little super soakers or whatever. You just see it as a toy. You're just looking to play with it. My mom, for a brief moment in my life, respectfully so, was against that, because man, Tamir Rice, look up Tamir Rice, young kid, had a toy gun out in public at a park. Police rolled up on him, shot him. And this is a couple years ago, and even when my mom was okay with me having that toy gun, she'd be like, okay, just don't bring it outside. And at a young age, you start realizing you can't do everything that a white kid would do, or that you see your neighbors would do, or whatever. And you're innocently having fun, but the simple fact of it's a black kid with a gun is like uncomfortable or traumatizing or something to police officers, which I do not understand, or just to people in general. So let start in there. Young experience. You already see where the precedent is set, where this young kid can, if he goes out into this world with this weapon, it will be perceived as a gun, and he could lose his life. That's the fear that my mom had. Firstborn, you can understand the pressure for being the first kid and being black and everything, trying to set everything straight so nothing happened to your son. I'm trying to like figure out the best way to explain everything. Growing up, I really didn't have to worry about a lot. I went to a private school. Race was not an issue. I've never come into a race issue in the private school setting. I was, when you look at the school in general, of the private school I went to, there was, I wouldn't say a handful of kids, but black kids. There was probably about 20 out of that 80 or 100 kids that were there that were black. And in just my class alone, I was the one black kid there within my grade. And that happens, from kindergarten on up. And of course, every now and then you may have one kid come in for a few years and they're out for whatever reason. I've grown accustomed to being the only black person in a room since the beginning of my life, pretty much. Like it's the norm to me to be in these rooms, so it's fine. Growing up, you start seeing how people will get uncomfortable being around you. I'll say this, like for example, Lauren and I will go out somewhere. And I see this countless times of more so at restaurants, you could say. We'll go out and it'll probably be a white guy or a white girl. It really doesn't happen with any other race. Not really, that I can think of. And they'll always focus on Lauren. And
like the waitress, you mean?
Yeah, the waitress. Server. Yeah. They'll always focus on you. They'll look at me they'll give me little looks, not bad looks, but just they'll acknowledge that I'm there, but they're mainly focusing on her.
It's like a comfort level thing,
and it has happened so many times. And I'm not sitting there with any type of look. I'm just sitting here, taking in the information that you were giving me. And I don't understand. I don't understand why, out of all races, or this is a minority thing, let me say, why minorities are looked at as, this one black person speaks for the rest of them. I hate that stigma where it's this black person has to act in control, has to speak a certain way, has to dress a certain way. If you don't, then you're grouped in as stupid. You don't know anything. You're just like the rest. You're a thug. So many things. There's so much being placed on me when I step out the door. It is exhausting. I have to always keep a smile on my face, which is funny because growing up, I remember this instance. Oh man, growing up, I remember me and my family went to, my aunt goes to this church, so we go there occasionally growing up. And I remember this guy being you should start smiling more. And normally, I'm if you guys know me, I smile, I'm cool, I get down, I say hi, all that stuff. But it triggered something in me where I'm I should start smiling more. What in you automatically assumes, because I'm not smiling in this moment, that I don't smile in general. And I've realized that growing up and having to transition into, there's a point in my life of not wearing glasses to wearing glasses. People feel a lot more comfortable with me. I'm going to tell you 100%. Where if I wasn't wearing glasses, people would start seeing me as more of an aggressive person, just from that subtle change of having something that's over my eyes, where they're man, this guy, there's some intelligence thing that's perceived if you have glasses. It sounds ridiculous. I 100%. If you're sitting there that makes no sense. Dog, I'm telling you. I'm sorry that I'm rambling and giving my stories throughout this. There's so much to go over. On the topic when it comes to police and dealing with police, I have had 3 instances of dealing with police. When I was talking through this with Lauren the other day, at first I was like, I only had 1 instance where this is like, I've been dealt poorly with police. But then after explaining the 3 situations, I'm like, hold up. I've had 2, actually. 2 out of the 3 of my life encounters with the police have been some type of racist comment or assumption has been made about me in these encounters. So how should I order these? I order them from how old they are to the most recent, I guess. So the first police encounter I had, it was stupid. So my friend gets back from like Massachusetts or something, probably seeing his family or whatever, and he bought fireworks there from some surrounding state within outside of Connecticut. Bought fireworks that shoot up in the air. Those are legal in Connecticut for you to have. Still, we hear them around us, so not like it matters or police are really doing anything about it. Whatever. So us being 18, 19-year-old kids, one of our friends out of our group finally has a car, can drive us around. We're like, okay, we'll go to these empty ass parking lots where no one's around, and we know it's legal, so we'll shoot them off, watch the firework, and then get in the car and leave. So we went to this empty parking lot, like by a football fields where there's like a couple houses around, and we shoot it off, and we drive to like another like lot that's a good distance away, shoot it off, and then we go back to that same lot. And that was stupid, first off. But when we get back to the lot, we shoot off another one, and then we go to head out. There's two police officers holding like, I feel like M4s, M16, heavy assault rifles just aimed at us with flashlights and everything. We did not expect that. Pulling in, we did not see their car. Yeah. So they jump out of the bushes, and then of course we stop. As the cop is like going, asking what are we doing, saying it's illegal, all that stuff. He goes and he starts making nicknames for all of us, one of the officers. And being 18, 19 years old, I'm thinking, I just hope nothing happens. Like, we're just having innocent fun. No one's getting hurt. Like, we get it. It's illegal. Our bad. So, of course, we got a fine. Nothing to say about that. The thing that I didn't realize that was racist at the time, that I thought recently, I'm like, oh yeah, that is pretty racist, was this cop would go through and give us all nicknames. He'd give my friends Jimmy the Rat. He'd give my friend some other name I can't think of. He called me 5-0, which I found out soon after was what they call state police, and state police are primarily black. Like it sounds minor, but what? Like, just giving us all random nicknames of just things, and it's like that's how you feel. Like, here goes a black kid. Let's call him that. All right, cool. So a couple years later, I'm hanging out with my other friend, doing nothing wrong. We're driving. I don't even know. I think we're trying to drive to go get something to eat. And I'm sitting there in the passenger seat. I'm bored. I'm just looking out the window as he's driving. We're not speeding. It's a normal day. We do this all the time. We're hanging out all the time. It's a normal day. We're just going to get something to eat. So these cops follow us for like a cool 5-10 minutes before they flash their sirens and pull us over. And come to find out, I guess the reason my friend was pulled over, he didn't have a front license plate, even though it was in the front of the window, which it was right there. Because I don't know. I'm not sure how that works. Probably has to get it like bracketed in or all that stuff. He didn't have the mount for it, but it's still technically there. So the cop goes, asks my friend for his ID. The other cop that's with this guy comes over to me, asks me for my ID. I'm a young kid, again, even though I'm like 19, 20 years old, whatever. I give him my ID. I don't know any better. I'm not going to sit there and fight with the cop and be like, no, you're not going to see my ID. I did nothing wrong, even though I know I did nothing wrong. And at the current time, I have like one of those, people would know them as like Livestrong bands that like, that's how it started. But I have one of these like bands on my hands that were a character from a video game, and that video game character was called Trapper. So I give this officer my driver's license, and they do whatever they do with it, and he looks on my wrist and he's like, Trapper, is that a gang? And I was just sitting there like baffled, like, what? And I was like, no, it's a video game. And like, what? He didn't ask my friend, yo, are you a part of a gang? Like, it sounds like so minor things that like, yo, it's just minor things. What are you complaining about? It makes no sense. And like, just to be okay with it and just to like, no. So the third time of me having another instance with the police, this one was finally a time that was reasonable. This cop handled it professionally, and I have no issue with. The one issue I have, it was a speed trap. But outside of that, outside of it, from when I got pulled over, cool, speed changes and you don't realize it, cool, you stop me, whatever. Guy asks me for my license, he does whatever he does on his computer, run my license, make sure I don't have any warrants, sure, whatever. He gives me a ticket. No comments were made, nothing was made. I think he even like reduced how much I would pay for it. He was like he was trying to be nice with it, I guess, which is, I'm fine with it. Yeah, and it sounded very professionally. I didn't have a fear of something going wrong, just how like he approached the car, just how I felt like I was being treated. I didn't. At first, your heart's beating. You got the cops behind you, like, oh my god. And this guy like handled it like on point. Like, I was relaxed after like having that first conversation, and then him just being cool, and it just we were that was it. Like, I'm cool. I say all this to say that I'm sure if I was to call up a lot of my white friends, they wouldn't have these stories. They wouldn't have these stories of cops saying racist comments like, yo, are you part of a gang? Look at this guy, he's 5'0", he's a black guy, and black guys are normally state police officers. Like, they wouldn't have these stories. Everything's all normal. I saw a post from one of my friends. This is how crazy it is. I saw a post from one of my friends where he brought his like little cousin to a police officer for a tour. Did I say that right? Let me repeat that. One of my friends brought his little cousin to police station for a tour. One hand, I'm like, oh, that's cool. My next hand is like, I personally would not want to do that, nor would I want my kid to do that, because I'm afraid. I had to get fingerprinted for my current job, because of my current job, like, they couldn't do fingerprints in the office at the current time, so we had to go to the police station to get fingerprinted.
I did that before.
Dog, they took me down to where, like, the freaking, I guess, where inmates would go to for them to fingerprint them, and they had 2 officers there, and I'm just trying to get fingerprinted for a job. I did not want to be there any longer than I had to be. And they had to, like, they take your finger, they press it down. I'm just like, oh God, I never want to do this in the sense of me going to jail in my life. It's not normal to sit there and tell your son that when you run into the police, do what they say, comply, do whatever you can to make sure you get back home. That's not normal. We justify it and make it seem like it's okay, and that's what life is, but that's not okay. There's so many issues with the police and outside of the police, which I don't think we're talking enough of, just dealing with racist people in the world. It's nasty. To touch on this George Floyd thing, I don't know this guy like a lot of us don't, but seeing these videos and seeing these different things from this guy, it has hurt me because for that, if you guys are familiar with the term "the good die young," granted, I'm sure he was probably like in his 30s or 40s, but he was one of the good ones. I'm gonna let me see if I can pull this clip up here, guys. This guy was the change that you wanted to see in the world, and to see someone that's like, yo, out there like trying to make change and try to help out people in the world, and this guy to sit there and kneel on him for 9 minutes as this guy sat, as George pled for his life just for him to breathe, is ridiculous. And this is a common thing. We've seen it so many times. We've seen it years ago when a black guy was running away and the cops still shot him. I'm gonna play this clip for you guys real quick. Check it out.
Man, just saw my homegirl Nikki from South Lawn lost her son, man. Our young generation is clearly lost, man. Clearly lost, man. Like, I don't even know what to say no more, man. Like, you youngsters just going around, just busting guns in crowds, kids getting killed, you know, and it's clearly the generation after us, man, that's so lost, man. You know, man, I came back to Houston and the nigga told me, yeah, Floyd, that young nigga the truth, man, right there, because he could bust a gun. Man, I knew it was crazy. Then a nigga my age saying this here, man. You know what I'm saying? And condoning this shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? And like half them young niggas shooting them guns go home and they knees shaking at night. But they don't show it to nobody because, you know, they ain't tough then. Hey, man, come on home, man. One day it's going to be you and God. You going up or you going down. You know what I'm saying? Man, just saw my old girl, nigga, lost her
Hold on, let me turn this off here. Dog. This guy is sitting there saying these kids that are sitting there taking each other's lives, like, you can do better than this. Like they need guidance. And they took out someone that had a plan, that had a vision on how he wanted to impact at least the people around him in their surroundings. And just for someone to die like that, like as minor as that is, like I talk about it all the time, where it's like I'm the firstborn in my family, so it's like to see like my younger brothers or even my sisters, like see them go through anything, like since I was a kid, like I have them literally until the day I die. To see how much hate there is for black people, it's like you have to have a team around you. You have to have people that love you and support you. It's ridiculous. I'm going to take a moment to step back. I'm going to let you say whatever you want to say. I have some other things to get into, but we'll have our normal conversation and go from there. I just want to share my experiences, share my life as jumbled as it is with everyone, to understand that this isn't like a normal. This shouldn't be a normal thing. You can go ahead there.
So, I don't really know where to start. I have just a whole lot of random like examples and stuff I just wanted to mention. But in general, it's interesting to me. So, I went on my business Instagram a few nights ago and I posted another, like, there's someone who, like, an artist who keeps making these pretty, like, pictures of these people who are dying. And, I reposted that. And then shortly after I reposted that, I lost 3 followers. And I just, I had this feeling like, should I just not say anything or should I say something? And so I chose to say something, and it took like 10 tries of me recording it to put one up, because it's a weird spot for me where I'm like, I try to keep my business Instagram professional while still showing you like peeks behind my life and stuff, because it's kind of a balancing game. You want people to know who you are, but also you can't get too political or anything, obviously. You can't, bring too much of that up because you need to be neutral to, have a good business kind of mentality. But then it was very interesting because basically I posted and I was saying how I was disappointed that I would lose people like that, assuming it was for that reason. I don't know. But, and if you know me, you know why it's important to me, this topic, and if you don't, you can look on my feed and there's pictures of me and Shadell together and you can put it together and there you go. But, and I was basically saying my brand has always been about love. It's been about, it doesn't matter who you are, who you love, what you look like, any of that. Like, it's just, if you're a person and, you want makeup and you love to, I don't know, do all that, that's all that matters, And it's interesting because I got some good feedback off of the video. Of course, I got people who were supportive of it. And I was telling people, I'm like, it's fine at the end of the day because whoever is in my tribe, whoever is my actual ideal client, whoever has the same kind of values will stick around. And that's who I need at the end of the day. I'm not trying, as a business, I'm trying to serve as many people as I can, but at the same time, I'm also trying to serve the people who link up with my values and, we can have mutual respect and get along, because at the end of the day, a lot of reasons you go to a certain business or you hire a certain person is that you guys mesh with your personalities too. It's not just about the physical service or product. So, I just thought that was interesting. So I'm starting to get a little more vocal on my stories on there where I want it to be a balance. Of course, I don't want to just talk about this 24/7 because I still want to be, inspiring in general and to other people and talk about my services, yada, yada, all the stuff I'm supposed to do. But, I've seen a lot of other people on that, on the Instagram, other business Instagrams starting to do the same. It's kind of funny because I almost feel like maybe this one was the aha moment for a lot of people. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the video was so graphically showing you exactly what happened. And I don't know, but I feel like I have never seen as many personal and business Instagrams talking about it so frequently at once.
Well, the thing is, this is one you can't say,
pretend it didn't happen.
Well, you can't say that he did something to cause it. You've seen the video beforehand where they have this guy in handcuffs. They go and sit him against the wall. We don't know what happened to lead him to being kneeled on, because at one point there was 3 officers putting their knees on this guy after he was handcuffed and on the floor. But it's just, it's ridiculous when someone's pleading for their life that they can't breathe, and then this guy's calling out to his mom that passed away years ago.
That's sad. It's like he knew.
I'm kind of feel like tearing up. It's just that. Yeah, it's nasty. Damn.
Yeah. So I find it interesting that this was kind of the aha moment, I feel like, for a lot of people, because or maybe it's just the fact that we're all coming out of the woodwork finally, because I know for me, like I said, I've been about this and I've been about being an ally and a support, but I haven't been as vocal on certain channels because it's that weirdness of is this too much for a business, or is that, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's, someone had told me, they're like, you're not getting political. It's just, you're standing up for what's right. You're in support of basic human rights. It's not like a whole, I'm trying to defend one president over the other, or I'm not bringing any of that in. All I'm bringing in is the basic fact that Black Lives Matter, period. That's all I'm talking about. I'm not trying to spin it into now we're going to play with religion and politics and all that. So I think the way I'm handling it is appropriate for the channel that I'm using.
It's a basic human right. That's it.
Right.
All we want to be as black people is be treated equal. And I bug out about this every single time. I have a problem. It's coming up from childhood and just how the world is. I have a problem when I'm not being treated equally to anyone, given whatever situation is. I have a problem, and I will speak up against it. It's a problem.
What I find interesting is who talks to me about it, because I know when I post these things, I know of people who have cops and Army members in their family or as friends, and who are also predominantly white. And it's very interesting that I never see them post, obviously, about this topic. They will always post on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Labor Day. They will post, about the Army and PTSD. They'll post about Blue Lives Matter. They'll post about all the stuff about cops and how, rightfully so, I understand you are also worried about them coming home. I get that. I'm not trying to discredit that. But it's very interesting because then, it almost seems like I'm over on this side and you're on that side. And that's, I think, what makes me a little uncomfortable is I'm not trying to, I don't know. See, I'm a person, again, I try to get along with everybody because I think people are people. Like, I just think we should all live in harmony. And I know that that's unrealistic in the world we live in, but I try, and I try to respect people's differences. Like, I know some of my friends on Facebook, I know some of them are supporters of, this president or this policy or stuff that I am not. But I don't make that an issue between us because it doesn't have to be. So I feel like it's a little uncomfortable for me when it feels like we're on polar opposite sides and there's not going to be a common ground there. Yep. Whereas I can see both sides. Yes, I'm more vocal about the Black Lives Matter movement rather than Blue Lives or any of that factor. And again, yes, maybe it's because personally that's who's in my life, just like personally a cop is in your life. So I get that, but I can see both. I can respect that at the end of the day, we want everybody to come home to our families. I just feel like sometimes maybe the other side is not seeing it the same.
And you know what the problem is?
It's like I'm trying to be vocal, but also not. I don't know. It's hard when you try to get along with everybody.
But the problem is, you could be for. I'm not knocking anyone that's for the police. That's fine.
Right.
But understand.
And I'm also, I will say every day, I understand that not all of them are bad. I'm not saying all of them are bad.
And I
just like I would hope that people are saying not all black people are bad. Mm-hmm. That's the point. Mm-hmm. That's the point. Because you guys at the end of the day are getting lumped into one group of, hey, look at those black people that are looting the stores. That's what all black people do. That's what people are doing. And I think, but we're supposed to see, oh, it's just a bad egg cop. Well, then why can't you see the bad egg black person just like there's a bad egg white person, oh God, I'm messing up my words. There's
Spanish
bad eggs in every
Asian
group.
Person, everything.
Every group has bad eggs, period.
And it's been like that forever.
But it doesn't mean everybody.
Like I said, I feel like I when I go out every day out into the world, I have to make sure I'm not perceived a certain way. And to answer your thing when it comes to police officers, here's a police officer. It's a clip that he breaks down, and he can call it for what it is. It's a black cop. I'm going to play the audio for you guys.
Let's talk things that happen in Minneapolis, cop standpoint, right? I'm disgusted with the things that happened in Minneapolis. Period, point blank. Things could have went way different. At the end of the day, let's talk facts. Guy is on the ground. He's laying on his stomach. He have handcuffs on. It's 4 of y'all, 1 of him. 4 of y'all, 1 of him. Who has control of the situation? It's not much one person could do against 4 people. Now let's get deeper, right? As an officer, you are a first responder, right? So if in the midst of you trying to gain compliance, someone is hurt, you have to render aid. So somebody's saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. You don't think to yourself and say, oh my gosh, this guy can't breathe, he might die. Let me render aid, right? Another point, other officers, if you're going to be an officer that's going to stand there and not help when things go wrong, come on, like you don't see that? That's the reason I got behind this badge, right? Because I want them officers that's afraid to step up, I want to be the one to step up. If I see wrong happening, wrong is not happening in my presence, right? I'm going to check it. And that's period.
You know, it's like, I don't know if this is the exact phrase, but it's like,
Hold on, let me pause.
it's like silence is compliance.
Yep.
Where like, if you are silent when something is going wrong, you're basically saying it's okay. And I know it's hard. I know it's difficult to speak up and when it's an uncomfortable situation. But if you're another cop, again, it's like there are sworn things you're supposed to do. And he brought up a really good point, because it's just the same thing. When you're arresting someone, but say like they are severely hurt and have to go to the hospital, they go to the hospital first. They treat that person, save their life, do whatever they're supposed to do before they go to jail. They don't just go to jail and be like, well, if you die, you die. No, they see it as you're still a human that you still need to get help. Like, that's a really good point.
You know what I just thought of watching that video? Here's another experience for you guys that are still listening and rocking with us. So our neighbors, they're not the greatest. They get loud certain times and everything. So we've had to call the police numerous times.
It's so much more than that. So like, just don't judge us. But
it's
a lot.
Imagine people being loud and playing music till
like 3 a.m. like all
1,
the time,
2, 3 o'clock,
all the time, not
every
just
day,
once in a while, and just they only care about themselves
every day until they got the message that stop it. You're around a freaking
and
group of houses.
there is no talking to them. So
you don't want to talk to people that there's a group of people. They're not black, so I'm not gonna to put that out there. But so I've had to call the police a few times. Dog, every time we've had to call the police, and every time that the dispatcher was like, can you meet them outside or whatever, my heart is racing. Not because I'm worried about what the neighbor's going to say because they see me calling the cops, but the fact that I'm coming head to head with someone that I am genuinely afraid of, that has a weapon on them, that may think of...
It's the middle of the night.
Something's wrong. May think, I don't own this house. May think I don't, like... And it's come to the point where it's like, I would prefer you, and I also feel like when I call... either being a man or being maybe this dispatcher doesn't feel like it's important, the cops won't even come for like another hour or two or whatever.
No, legit. Then I called the most recent time. Not only do I feel like they took it more seriously because I'm a woman and because I guess maybe I can sound more worried or something. But yeah, they were there within like 10-15 minutes. I chose to say, no, we don't need to see them outside. I just want to make sure it's shut down and we can move on with our lives.
They haven't been out.
Because seeing them outside doesn't do anything. Talking to the cops hasn't done anything in the past because they claim they'll write stuff in a record, but they don't do it. So, but yeah, so it just... that was that, and it's that in itself is interesting, but we'll remain on the...
But I'm just saying, I get fearful every time we have to call the police and I have to go out there, and that's why I'm like... when I'm calling them, I want you to be out there with me. I don't want to go out by myself, as childish as that seems.
Right. No, I go,
Yo, I have a freaking panic attack.
Yep.
Another thing, I hate it, we did it the other day, and I said this on a past episode, when we go out anywhere and we go into a store and you don't find what you need, and then we have to leave.
Literally yesterday.
Dog.
I was thinking that when we were walking out of the store that you said that.
I was like, please no one stop me. Like, there's so many things that I hate so much that are in my head that aren't normal, that I have to walk around and be like, yo, I hope no one pulls me over or stops me.
So I have so many things I still need to like read and say and show you.
Before you get into that.
Because what you just said is something.
Before you get into that, I just want to say, the officer that kneeled on George Floyd, he should have been arrested, charged, or something a long time ago. Real quick, I'm just going to run through this here. This guy shot an unarmed black 20-year-old man in 2008. Like, I don't care what he was doing. Probably wasn't doing anything to Derek Chauvin, however you pronounce his name. He was also one of the officers who murdered Wayne Reyes, a Latino man, with 16 bullets forced into him. A total of 42 rounds were shot off.
Jeez.
This guy, there have been 12 police brutality complaints against this guy in Minneapolis. So this guy, his complaints have all been listed as closed, non-public, and no discipline. He's been killing people and getting away with it. This one is just his way of... He was hoping that he can get away with this in the public eye.
Can we talk about how much he looked like he enjoyed what he was doing, too?
He sat there like, okay, like, I don't care.
Like, just the whole thing is sick. And also, another good point, you know, first of all, yeah, when you're in handcuffs, what are you really going to do? When there's 4 people against you, what are you really going to do? Also, if you're on the ground on your stomach, first of all, you can just leave the person like that because chances are they're not going to easily get up. Because again, if your hands are behind you, you have to roll over. You have to try and sit up before you can even stand up. And by the time you try to do any of that, they'll push you back down. So either you just let them be and you see if they try to get up, or if you're really that worried that they're going to get up, you can gently place your hand on their back or something.
That guy wasn't even resisting. Like,
there's no reason, first of all, that the knee has to go on the neck, period, but let alone for 9 whole minutes.
Yeah. Guy wasn't even resisting,
really?
And they still put that much force in. And that's just the norm. I just saw a video on Twitter last night of this cop, and they put all the social medias out there of him pushing this, like, small little girl. And, like, her, like, pretty much hitting the curb, and she could have gotten hit. And then she posted on Twitter saying, like, yeah, like, that she's fine, and that, like, she's, you know, she's scratched and bruised, but, like, ah.
Okay. So this reminds me, so there's a few TikToks. TikTok's been very interesting lately because there are a lot of people now coming out, and this is a lot. This is everywhere.
Some people
now
are saying to delete the app because TikTok doesn't rock with black people, so I'm with that.
Which I've heard, but then I don't see it. Like, I see plenty of black people on my For You page, and I see all of this stuff.
That's great and all, but in the beginning, when TikTok was all for the little white kids to be on it.
All right. Regardless, I think these videos are important.
Go ahead.
So there's one guy, and he's talking about what you were just talking about, similar to, like, the store and all that.
Don't put your hands in your pockets. Don't put your hoodie on. Mm-hmm. Don't be outside with no shirt on. Mm-hmm. Check in with your people. It don't matter even if you're down the street.
Yep.
Don't be out too late. Mm-hmm. Don't touch anything you're not buying. Never leave the store without a receipt or a bag.
Yep.
Even if it's just a pack of gum.
Yep.
Never make it look like there's an altercation between you and someone else.
Uh-huh.
Never leave the house without your ID. Mm-hmm. Don't put your hands.
So, like, that's similar to what you were just saying.
That is the life.
Oh gosh, where is it?
Like, to always be perceived guilty is nasty.
So one thing I thought was interesting. So I think it's phenomenal that there's, like, professionals of all types on TikTok. I've learned so much that, like, I never would have learned if it wasn't for some of these people. Mm-hmm. So there's doctors, right? There's this one doctor. He does fascinating videos about, like, stuff in your sleep and, like, random medical facts and stuff. But sometimes he'll break down the physical reasons somebody died. And usually it's, like, these high-profile deaths. Mm-hmm. And so he broke down what is actually happening in the body for what happened to him. Mm-hmm. So, hold on. Oh, okay, I see it. Got it.
This is George Floyd, a 46-year-old black male who was restrained with a knee to his neck for 9 minutes. Here's how he passed away. He was held in the prone position, so he was face down, lying flat. To breathe normally, you need to increase the size of your chest. You do this by raising your ribs and contracting your diaphragm. When you're face down, the weight of your body makes raising your ribs to expand your lungs difficult. It's even harder when someone's kneeling on you. Breathing quickly becomes abnormal. The person has air hunger, gasping and struggling to breathe. This is known as compressive asphyxia. The weight of the knee on the neck can fracture the hyoid bone or the cervical spine. Your airway is like a straight straw. Any bends in the straw can cause a blockage of the airways. Kneeling on the neck can compress the carotid artery supplying the brain, resulting in less oxygen going to the brain. This can cause death of brain tissue, resulting in a stroke or cardiac arrest.
So I found that really interesting just because I'm fascinated with actually what happens in the body. But I will also point out, when I was a pre-nursing major and I was in anatomy and physiology, I specifically remember learning about the hyoid bone and how if basically you're being attacked and you want to, like, get away and you want to possibly, like, hurt or kill the person, you need to just lunge your hand at that bone, because literally breaking that bone could cause them to die because it could cut off their air supply. So I remember that fun fact. But it's like, there you go. There's literally so many things happening in the body working against you because of that simple thing he did by kneeling on him. Like, it's wild to me. But last TikTok, I thought this was just, you'll see, it's powerful.
Committed to educate ourselves on an important topic. Black Lives Matter. When I first saw this hashtag, this was my initial reaction. But all lives matter, so I don't get it. For some reason, I put an only in front of this because I just didn't have all the information. Of course all lives matter, but this movement was created to raise awareness of a huge problem in our society today. Black Lives Matter is about black people getting treated unfairly because they're black. They're being killed because they're black. And what's worse, it's done by people that took an oath to serve and protect us. So what this is just trying to say is that Black Lives Matter too. So you might ask Jeannie, as an Asian, why do you even care? I'll explain it to you with a simple story. I witnessed a man get hit by a car and get pinned underneath the wheels. He was screaming in pain and crying for help. Regardless of race, people came together to lift that car to save a stranger's life. Black people are just crying for help, so what are you gonna do?
I thought that was a really good way to break it down. Because she, I guess, was me when I was more blissfully ignorant. The whole putting only in front of Black Lives Matter because you thought saying all lives matter made sense. Rather, Black Lives Matter too is more of what you're trying to say. And I thought that was very fascinating. Other stuff I have, if you would like me to still go over.
Well,
stuff, or if we
give me a quick moment.
Okay. I got a whole slew of stuff.
I just gotta say, when everyone's like, we need to do more peaceful protesting, we shouldn't be rioting and looting, I totally get that, totally understand. But what do you expect people to do when every time someone is wrongfully killed, we peacefully protest, we want change, we want change. Anywhere. Nothing happens.
The peaceful stuff makes people mad too. I mean, the kneeling was that's the irony of it. The kneeling on the football field was a problem, not kneeling on someone's neck.
And it's so ridiculous. I hear, it's ridiculous because I was having this conversation with my friends a few weeks ago, and they had to justify this. And if you guys are listening to this, straight up talk to me if you want to talk to me. Don't care.
Ooh, confrontation.
But it's so ridiculous when I brought up the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. They try to bring it up some excuse and all that stuff. I'm like, dog, I don't care how you feel about him or whatever. At the end of the day, how else do you expect people protest at work because of the poor conditions. He protested at his job. How else was he going to do it? When people would say, oh, he should do it another way. Where else was he going to do this at?
Yes.
On the biggest platform he had, which was his job? Duh.
That's what I was going to say. If you have a platform, you have to use it for good and for change.
So I'm going to point you guys to this Tupac clip where he speaks against black people killing each other and starting to kill crooked cops before anyone takes this and spins with it. Here we go.
Shit is positive. All my shit is positive. That's the white man got you thinking my shit is negative and positive. All my shit positive because it tell niggas to swing back. It tell sisters to swing back and it tell niggas to swing back. If that ain't positive, crack don't sell. You got me? You feel me? That's positive. White people got you believing just because I'm telling a nigga to stop getting his head kicked in by the police, to take the gun he would use to shoot his brother in a second and kill the motherfucking cop that's killing you, your family, and everybody else on the block. You know what I'm saying? Kill that motherfucker. That is not insane. That is sane and straight like a motherfucker. That's positive, like a motherfucker. Because from where I'm standing, that would save a black family. You know what I'm saying? But from where they standing, that would keep another motherfucker off welfare and keep another motherfucker shooting at cops, crooked cops that be trying to shoot us down. So fuck them. It's all positive. Everything I do is positive, goddamn.
So what's funny about that is you joke about me and conspiracy theories sometimes, but yeah, he is a conspiracy theory of that he was killed because he was being too vocal about certain stuff, which one wouldn't surprise me in the industry, but two, people, if they're ahead of their time, that's a problem. It's always been a problem, whether it's a race, a gender, whatever issue it is. If you're 20 years before people can finally open their eyes and start to accept it, you're going to have a big problem because you can't shake it up like that.
And you know what the next issue is with these people that are looting and rioting? Yo, we've been saying it for a while now. These people are hungry, regardless of the race that they are. They are hungry. They want better jobs. They want better paying jobs. What happened back in the old days, and it's still happening now, all the rich people got the nice houses. They're in comfortable places on the other side of the tracks. And then you have black people and Spanish people and Asian people and everyone else scattered throughout that. And you have some other people, white people in that too. I'm not forgetting them. You have them scattered throughout there. The people that don't have the income in these sucky neighborhoods. Like, back in the days, I forgot why I learned this at. Back in the days, there's a whole thing happening where, like, Wells Fargo and probably some other banks were giving subprime loans to black people, working with black churches and, their pastors to say, hey, they should come to us and we'll give them, a great discount on this house or, whatever, with these people having, whatever credit score they had, whether it was good, bad, whatever. This is back in like 80s, 90s, somewhere around there. They would give these people not your conventional loans. They would give them your subprime loan, no matter what your credit score is. You can sit there with an 800 credit score and be fed a subprime loan, which is essentially a loan that has high interest rates and it's just going to increase year after year. That is crippling.
That's a setup. That is a setup. I'd be mad if someone put me in that situation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Look at Detroit, for example. These people that are in not the greatest situations, these houses that you don't have people living in, like there's one part of Detroit that you have to be worried about going into. Like in a lot of our states, I could probably say, there's a certain part of a town in Connecticut you can't go into because it's a bit risque. But because these people don't have any other options, when I say they are hungry, I mean in the literal sense and the figurative sense that they want to provide for their families. At the end of the day, you want to provide for your families. And if anyone's in the way of that happening, which in this case are the police and the crooked white people, not all of them, but the ones that are crooked, like the politicians and everything, that are in the way causing this issue, we're going to come after anything we can get our hands on. Like, the whole drug thing wasn't because people, because people decided to, selling drugs and stuff is a freaking great idea, destroying the community. No, we had to do it. Like, we needed the money. We had no other options. When you don't have business close to you, it's hard for you to open a business because it's hard for you to get a loan because you're black. You have everything put against you. You have nothing else to do but to sell drugs. And then they go hit you with the law, imprisoning all these black people because you're selling drugs just to feed your family. It is ridiculous. It's been a game since the beginning, and people were tired of it.
That's why people who are trying to get change, allies, all these people are trying to say rehabilitation is more important than imprisonment and suffering and just paying for something that necessarily should not be paid for. Like, if you're not an inherently bad person, if you didn't murder someone, like in this case, like, their rehabilitation is so insanely important, but it is so not available.
All we want as people in general is equality and opportunity. That's what black people getting the right to vote, women getting the right to vote, gay rights. Everyone just wants to be equal and wants the opportunity to make a living for themselves, make a living for their family, create a family. It's just having the opportunity and that ability to have it without someone literally putting their knee on your neck and stifling you of that. It's ridiculous.
This reminds me, this TikTok, this white woman is breaking down like oppression and all that stuff, and it's a duet, so this black man is watching it and he gets all excited towards the end. You'll hear why.
Of all the comments that I've received from my last post, this one hit me the most.
The comment she's referring to, because I don't know if she reads it, it says blacks don't care about their lives, so they are more willing to hurt people. So she responded to this in a video.
And I'll tell you why. You see this timeline up? 246 years of slavery, 89 years of segregation, and then 1954 today is 66 years of so-called freedom. And PSA, the people that were segregated back in there, still alive today, still living in those segregated areas. And PSA, these are the poorest neighborhoods in the country that are being gentrified by white people. So if you know basic math, this is about 401 years of being told you suck, you can't build up, but you can work for us on our plantation. That's 401 years of being falsely accused of crimes they did not commit and being racially profiled. That's 401 years white people had to build up themselves. But yet people of color do it in 66 years while they're still being targeted.
Say that.
That's 401 years of oppression, which brings on depression and crime and violence. And anecdotes are not data. So when Black lives finally matter, then all lives will matter.
That gives me chills.
Oh,
I love that lady.
Yes, and when she finished with that quote, I lost it. When Black Lives Matter, all lives will finally matter. This is the only line you have to understand. If you are still in the mentality of I can't say Black Lives Matter, I am white, I only say all lives matter because that's what matters.
Yep.
I can understand because I was there. I can understand you're coming from a blissfully ignorant place. You're not intentionally, most people, you're not intentionally trying to oppress people or you're trying to invalidate their circumstance. But that line, that's all you have to understand is that all lives do not matter right now. That is the whole reason for the movement.
Yep.
So when she said that, I was like, that's exactly it. That is the line. That is what everybody needs to hear and everybody needs to understand.
Well, that whole video, because understanding that,
yes.
Dog, this is the conversation we had recently where I'm like, we're trying to just in our own, us becoming a family and us growing a family is okay, creating that quote unquote generational wealth that I can build something here, set the foundation for our kids to then build on is what I'm aiming to do because our parents, at least mine, did the best they can with the knowledge that they had at the time.
Well,
so no knock on them.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. What do you expect from people that don't have anything? If we were struggling and all we had to do was freaking go to our neighbors or find somewhere to freaking steal food or just to survive and eat, it's going to happen.
Right. Yep.
We have no equality or opportunity to do anything else. It's ridiculous. And you know what's funny? I found this interesting because I learned this in a YouTube video. So police go by these hot spots in these areas. So when 911 calls happen within a certain area, they call it a hot spot, and they these areas that police will then commonly traffic to just oversee and stuff like that. Those hotspot areas are primarily areas where black people are. They're not. It's not going to be in your nice little peaceful white neighborhood.
That's true. I believe
they're sitting there patrolling only black people, only minorities. Because I don't want to say specifically black people, because there are white people that live there. There are Spanish people. There are Asians. There are other races that live there. But they go into these areas of low income people and they target them specifically. When
it's the thing of beating someone when they're down. And not giving them a chance to rise up and giving them a chance to build, and like she just said, 401 years versus 66. Can you believe
you have a family member that's probably that age or close to it?
Can you believe it's only been 66 years since that? Since technically freedom, technically.
And it hasn't been freedom, trust me. If I have to be assumed guilty every chance, everywhere I go, it's not freedom.
My dad is only 2 years younger than that. It makes me very curious, their perspective when they were kids.
Yeah.
Because, again, it comes from then our grandparents. And we're
not so far removed as we like to.
Fascinating.
When white people like to use the excuse, racism and that you're free now. That was so long ago. It wasn't. You have a family member that was
because they forget the segregation part. They wanna skip. They wanna basically say that the segregation and the freedom part are the same. They look at it literally as, well, you weren't a slave since X year.
Makes no sense.
But no, that long of segregation, that's a problem. We thought that black people had to use different water fountains. We thought it made them dirty. And pools and all that stuff. Pool. Can you imagine? Okay, I go in the pool with you, right? At like a hotel or something. When we get out, it looks the same. Can you imagine? And I understand that that's how they really thought back then. I get it. I get we only know what we know at the time and what we're taught. But like, it's like you look back. Mm-hmm. Really? Because last time I checked, we're all humans. I will always go back to that. We are all the same race, if you think of it that way. You know, just like a dog is a dog, okay? They're all different breeds, but they're all dogs, okay? So because they're all dogs, we're cool with choosing whichever dog works for us for our household, right? Mm-hmm. We don't look at it as like, oh, well, technically, yes. Some people look at breeds of dogs like pit bulls and stuff. You could argue similarly. But my point, a human is a human. Therefore, if we all get in the pool together, we all drink water together, whatever, what's gonna happen? Is your head gonna explode? Like, so yeah, we're just breezing over the segregation part like that was okay.
It's ridiculous.
So, but I want to go back to, I have several tweets to read and then I think we'll round it out. But
yeah, go ahead with what you have. I'm not sure if I have anything else to try this before we get to the next.
Gotcha. Okay. So I saw something and it said, I see no color is not the goal. I see your color and I honor you. I value your input. I will be educated about your lived experiences. I will work against the racism that harms you. You are beautiful. Tell me how to do better. That's the goal. Mm-hmm. I thought that was powerful. Because, you know, I've even, you know, again, I'm always learning. And I'm okay to admit that. I'm an ally, but I also know that I could learn more. But I also know I've come such a long way in what I used to believe and think. So, you know, I used to do the whole I see no color because I thought that's what you're supposed to say. It came from a good place because I wanted to be supportive and I wanted to just say, no, I don't see it as in like, it's not the deciding factor for if I like you or not, you know? But it's evolved into, no, we're supposed to say, I see it, but it's not a problem. Yep. And I get that. That makes a whole lot of sense because we're not supposed to invalidate who you are as a person. Okay? And so, yeah. So I thought that was very important. Somebody said, it's scary raising my white sons in a world where they will be looked at as the enemy by all minority races. Just as you fear for your sons, I fear for mine.
That's great.
And somebody said,
that's lovely.
A black influencer I watch, this is the problem. The idea that black people not wanting to fear for their lives will somehow correlate to white people having any risk to theirs, unreasonable to say the least. And someone else said, also, it's like, why do they always turn themselves into the victims? This isn't about you. Just like, I'm not making this about me. I have feelings, sure. And, you know, I feel so terrible about the situation and I worry for you and all that stuff. But I'm not going to make this about me. Yes, I would be rip-roaringly sad, God forbid, if something happened to you. But I would still focus on the fact that it happened to you. That's the whole problem. So, yeah. So that was just, that was ridiculous. It's not the same. This is where people keep saying Karen. It's not the same. Like, again, your stuff isn't rooted in oppression. Your stuff isn't rooted as just because of how you look. You can argue. I see that's where your argument's going.
Your kid does not have to go out. Your kid gets treated as the individual. I go out, I get treated as a group. I am a group of people. I have to represent a group of black people.
Also, let's be clear here. Right now, the enemy is not seen as all white people. The enemy is seen as crooked cops, period.
In addition, because I hate that we keep skipping over this.
In addition
racist
to crooked people.
People.
Yes, racist people, period. So, but which also could be any race.
Exactly.
But also...
But since white is the majority,
right.
it's targeted
But
at
it's
you.
never saying all white people suck and are racist. Again, just like we don't want to say all black people are thugs and,
I got
all this stuff.
bunch of white friends. I would never call them racist because I know they're not.
Right. Okay. So again, it's all in how you raise your children. So like, don't be blaming people about that. Okay. I saw Martin Luther King's son tweeted.
Yeah.
He said, as my father explained during his lifetime, a riot is the language of the unheard.
And it's funny because...
A whole bunch of 1.9 million likes.
But, think about this.
Oof.
Think about it. We don't have kids yet, but imagine we're sitting in a car, we're going somewhere, and your kid says something to you. You don't acknowledge your kid. Your kid says something to you again. You don't acknowledge your kid again. And sooner or later, your kid's going to kick your seat and be like, yo, mom, dad, I'm saying something.
Yes, this was, I forget which one it was, so I'm not going to go searching, but this was exactly a TikTok too. It was actually about child behavior, because I think it was like a therapist or something, explaining how we see children as problem children, okay? Oh, it was in a classroom setting, right? And they're trying to get attention. They're doing like behaviors they're not supposed to do in the classroom, but they're attention seeking. And then the teacher disciplines them and says, you go in timeout. And the whole problem here is that child needs attention for something. If the child feels heard, again, it goes down to our basic humanity. Again, we're all the same because it carries into adulthood. If we are heard, we feel loved, appreciated, heard, understood, we're good. We're not going to cause a riot. We're not going to argue. We're not going to cause a scene. Once the child gets what they need, there's no need to do all that. So it's again, it goes into adulthood, and now here we are with bigger issues. So I found this interesting too. The NYPD was using a bus to transfer arrested protesters at the Barclays Center. The bus driver refused to drive it.
Yep, in New York and Minneapolis.
The white bus driver.
They protested. They were like, we're not doing that for you to transport people to jail and transport you there. Like, no.
Powerful. So, I just... wow. I will end this general conversation by, well, unless you have something else.
I got stuff, so go ahead and your stuff.
I'll end my part by saying, sometimes it bothers me when I think people can see me a certain way because I'm the white wife of a black husband, which is frustrating. I can understand, but it's also frustrating because at the end of the day, it's just, I still love these people. These people are important to me, i.e. him, his family, all that stuff. And at the end of the day, I am an ally. I try to be the best I can be. Again, like I said, I believe that you can always learn and you can always be better. So I'm not claiming to be the best. But I will stick up for what's right. And one, if people, especially other white people that I know in my life, have a problem with that, it was nice knowing you. Because at the end of the day, this is something, again, I think people are having the aha moments, and I think people are finally coming out of the woodwork because enough is enough. Period. And just because it doesn't affect me personally, and I will never claim to understand what a black person goes through personally. I will never pretend like that part affects me, because it doesn't. I cannot fathom. You know, we even talked on the past podcast about, what was it? I just had it in my mind. Oh, you made a clip of it on Instagram, I think. I just completely lost it. About how basically our experiences were different is where I'm going with this. But yeah, I think that's also where some of the issues come in. I hate feeling like that. Like people look at me, like I said, it's like in quotations, the white wife of the black husband, and making that a problem. It frustrates me because it's like, again, I'm not claiming to know your experiences. I'm not claiming to live them. And I'm not trying to take the spotlight away from you and these issues. But I also am trying to put the spotlight on the issues because that is what we're supposed to do. We're, all I kept thinking and saying the other night, we're supposed to be a voice for people who don't have it or the people who are not heard. Because, I saw another example. I don't know where it was. It was that Facebook post I read you. It was a whole long Facebook post, long story short, it was a white wife, black husband. They have 2 children together. And long story, but this guy got almost arrested at a gas station for literally nothing. It took the white man that saw the situation happen speaking to the cops to say, hey, no, he's not the guy you're looking for. He came from the other direction. Not the black man for saying he's innocent, for saying he didn't do anything, for saying he came from the other direction. He could say the exact same words. They were not heard the same. And that's exactly why I'm speaking up. I'm not trying, don't get it twisted, is my thing at the end of the day. I'm not trying to step on toes. I'm not trying to pretend I know. But I'm trying to bring awareness, and I'm trying to support the people I love. Because the one example I'll give, I worry about you all the time. And I know you say I shouldn't or I don't have to, and the fact that you're numb to it, which is also a problem in itself. That shows exactly how screwed up it is. But the example is when we're driving, when it's you that is driving, I think of sometimes what would happen if we got pulled over. How would I react? I'd probably be nervous right away. I'd probably wait to see what was going to happen. And if at any point a little something started to go wrong or my gut was telling me something, it's like, would I just record on my phone? Would I yell at them? What would I do? It's this thought of how would I react in that situation? Because I know we all have those thoughts, You think of some worst case scenario and you're like, what would you do? And you hope that you would react the right way. Because I think of that and it weighs on my heart, So at the end of the day, I love you. And I can't imagine anything like this happening to you. And I can see why people are so upset and why things need to change. So that is what I will conclude with.
My last thing before we move into a relationship topic here, I just want to talk about, we all know our president is not the greatest person when it comes to these things because he rarely speaks up. But I just want to talk about recent events that happened in Michigan with the whole protest. And this is what Trump said at the time. The governor of Michigan should give a little and put out the fire. These are very good people. Which he's talking about the white people that are protesting that pushed their way into the friggin' building and had cops there just calmly looking at these white people as they're shouting, as you can find pictures of these white people just shouting, bulletproof vests, guns, everything.
Because they couldn't get their hair and nails done.
But, and Trump goes on to say, but they are angry. They want their lives back again safely. See them, talk to them, make a deal.
May 1st.
He treats that white people want their lives back again safely. Dog, we want our lives back, period. Essentially, my life isn't mine because anyone can call the police and say, yo, there's an African-American man threatening me. I need you to come take this out from me.
Well, right, because we can go back to the fact that a few days prior to this happening was the whole lady in Central Park. And that whole scene of how she got all, her voice got crazy upset for what? The guy was calm and just standing there.
Yep. And then Trump goes and tweets, do the protests and all that stuff against police brutality. He goes and says, these thugs, in all caps, are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd, and I won't let that happen. Just speak to the governor, Tim Walz, and told him that the military is with them all the way. Any difficulty, and we will assume control, but when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Thank you.
I love how he tried to make that a positive, if you notice. He's like, oh, they're dishonoring the memory of George Floyd. He
doesn't
tried.
care.
Right. No, but I see the manipulation in that. He really tried to make it seem like, oh, he cares about this one black man. Sure, he does. But then you just generalize the rest of the living ones.
These thugs.
Which had no guns, but the white people that had assault rifles.
Because they couldn't get their hair and nails cut and everything.
That was okay.
We just, again.
We're the black people are unarmed. And that's a problem.
We don't want our hair and nails done. We just want equality. Like, we just want what everyone else has, but haven't been getting forever. Like, I want to go into the store and not be looked at that I'm stealing something.
Can we talk about, the pandemic has kind of shown a lot of interesting things. And I get it. All right. I get it has been a very severely hard few months, but put that in perspective. It's been a few months. We're in month 3 or something of the pandemic, and I guess, call it a soft oppression, whatever you want to call it, of
a light one,
of the little bit of your rights feeling like they're taken away, of being stuck in your house, not being able to work, not feeling equal. Okay, not feeling free. But remember that many years we talked about before? Woo. That's the point. That's my point.
Pretty much.
Like, wow.
So we're gonna move into a relationship advice topic here, as always, just to round this episode out.
But it relates, you said.
Yeah.
So it all comes full.
I'm trying to pull it up, so bear with me here, because I should have took a screenshot, but Reddit deleted this, so it's I just gotta do some maneuvering to find it again.
Okay.
But it's ridiculous, and to know that, like, I hope when the time comes when we have kids that I don't see it happening, so probably we'll have to, but I hope I don't have to go into detail of like why they shouldn't go out or why they have to comply if police happen and stuff like that.
Not for nothing too. That's going to be interesting from my perspective, right? Because we have to like educate our children just because they are going to be mixed. Coming from my background, it feels so weird to have to do that. Because if I just had white children, that would not even be in my mind at all. Being a good person I would, preach, don't be a terrible person, don't murder people, don't rape people, don't be don't do all the bad things. But it would never cross my mind that I have to tell my child, watch out for this, don't do this, do this in front of this person. Like, so specific and so extra.
Yeah.
And that really saddens me.
So this topic is about a wife that's mad let me rephrase that, sorry. This guy's wife is mad that he is not speaking out enough about the George Floyd death. So this guy goes on to say he is 28, he is a white male married to a black woman who is 26. And the recent riots in Minneapolis have them arguing quite often. One reason is she is upset with him because I can't even talk, sorry.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm in a different mindset.
One reason she is upset with me is because I don't use social media to speak out about what's happening with the death of George Floyd. I explained to her that racial topics about one race acting horrible to another isn't something that I need to post about. The reason being is because I always see news about such controversial topics every day. It's something new. I told her just because it's a white person doing something wrong to a black person that I need to post and call them out, which obviously what happened was 100% undeniably wrong and he should be in jail. My problem is what happens the next day when I see a news post about a black person being violent to a white person. Do I post that as well? Oh boy. Or the next day I see a Hispanic woman treating an Asian person wrong. It's a never-ending cycle. So instead of me just posting about white people doing wrong and looking the other way when other races act out, I decide just to keep negativity out of it altogether and not push a narrative like many news outlets do. And I think this is very interesting because I feel like that's part of maybe what I felt. That's part of maybe why I was kind of concerned to start being more vocal of this specifically, is because I didn't want to be seen as, again, just caring about one group. I always, and that's why, I had made a slide after I talked about the stuff that I was feeling on Instagram. I made a post saying, my brand's about love, period. My brand's about, being a good person, feeling good, being accepted, no matter your race, gender, et cetera, et cetera. So it's an interesting perspective. I get it. But at the same time, it's almost what's feeding into the All Lives Matter thing. It's what's feeding. That's a tricky one. He needs to get to the point where I am. I think that's what it is. I think, again, when you are the white person that's married to or with a black person, it's almost a journey of you learning and opening your eyes and being accepting new information and not questioning it, not just believing what the person's telling you, even though you may not have lived it and you may not understand it. I think it's a journey because it's been years that we've been together and it's taken years for me to get to this point. So I think for him, maybe just to be a little more open to what she is saying.
Yeah, because at the end of it, if you don't post because you don't use social media, sure, that's one thing, whatever.
Right, like you don't.
But it sounds like you're just not understanding where she's coming from. Because being a black woman in America, there's nothing to freaking be like, oh man, it's easy.
Right. Right. And again, I won't say I understand. I'll say I see it. I get it. I hear what you're saying. Because I can't understand. And I will never.
And yeah, it's just
get
where she's coming from when she's like, I feel like she doesn't feel that he understands what she means, and it's tough because I feel like I've heard this before when it comes to a white man and a black woman type of
the power struggle,
because it's different because you're dealing with someone that's at the top of that I guess the human food chain,
right?
And then someone that's at the bottom,
right? Whereas I'm a woman, so I still understand a little bit of oppression in the female sense. Whereas, I can still, I see that. Whereas, the white male is, the top of the food chain.
No one's sitting there making jokes. No one's sitting there disrespecting your hair. No one's saying that, you look ugly because of your skin color. This guy, it's you just, he has to gain an understanding. And I'm not sure if that's something you're able to do with someone that may not see it, depending on how long you've been talking about this
I wouldn't discredit that. I think depending on who you are as a person and how accepting and open you are, I do think I wouldn't discredit all white men who are with black women that they couldn't understand that.
I will say, I'm not sure if my friends listen to this, but when my friends are in that relationship structure, and I rock with my close friend that's white and has a black wife. Because he's he understands it. She trained him well, for lack of better words. But he's tweeting about it. He's making his group of most likely white friends aware of what is happening, and that's what we need. And more white people telling their other friends, "Yo, this is not okay," and this is what seems to be happening.
And that's exactly what I'm starting to try to do more because, I feel that too. I feel like I've always had more white friends and I've always been surrounded by more white people. And so, and again, I always say the blissfully unaware or blissfully ignorant or those kind of words, because it's almost like you're not intentionally, but if you grow up like that and you then when you're older, you don't learn or you don't take the time to understand other points of views and other livelihoods and other ways of life and all that, then you will continue on that path. And then also your children, and this is how it all goes. So I give a lot of credit to a lot of my friends, a lot of businesses, a lot of people that I'm surrounded with. They really are. They're taking the time to get it and to be an ally and to be a voice. And I think that's incredible. I do. It sucks. It really is terrible that it has had to come this far, that it's had to be this long, that it's had to be this many people, that it had to be so public, like all this stuff. But I will say that the positive from it is I really do think we are starting to see all the allies come out of the woodwork and be vocal, because that's the part. We all were saying we were allies behind closed doors, but we weren't saying anything. That doesn't help people. And I think also, again, and I'm terrible at this too, what needs to happen is we need to continue talking about it when deaths aren't happening in the news. Yeah, because we always talk about it for a few days when another death happens, and then we go back to normal life. So, but you guys live this every day. There is no ignoring it. So I think, and I've been bad at that too, but I think we just need to keep the conversation going. We need to keep being that annoying fly that's in your ear until someone does something about it, until it really changes. We need to be that fly that you cannot swat. You just can't get rid of it. And it won't go away until you do something about it.
Yeah.
So that's my input there. But yeah, basically, if you are in a relationship, I will say this, people can knock interracial relationships. I think they're amazing if you think about it, because I do respect the people who are like, if they're black and they respect the whole, I want to keep the black family together dynamic.
That is lovely. That's
I understand that. However, what I'm saying with interracial relationships, by doing that, not only are we diversifying what people look like and we're accepting every generation is going to start to look similar and similar, but you are, by being with that person, if you like really love that person and you respect that person, they get to teach you a whole new world. And there's another ally. There's another voice who can be a voice. Because again, sure, I'm a woman. I deal with that stuff, but that's not what this episode's about. As a white person, I understand the privilege and I have a voice that they will listen to more than yours. And especially listen to, unfortunately, also, more than a black woman.
You know what the cool
thing is? So it's like, I can use that for good because you opened up my eyes, because you taught me.
Yeah, but also the thing that I think people that don't understand it, that are like, you're with a white person, or, you're with a whatever race you're with. There's so much that like goes that's like good about that, which is like, when we go out and we're, let's say, at a group setting with your friends or with like colleagues or whatever they are to you, if they don't hang around other black people, they are coming in contact with me, and they're sitting there and being like, oh, I had this preconceived notion because I'm in like this rich part of Connecticut that all black people were like this, and you kind of changed my view, because Shadell was really cool. We had a cool conversation. He seems like a real good guy. Like all this.
True. So then it's even more so. It's a bigger pond of fish that you affect. Yeah.
It's because they're taking that experience and be like, no, not all black people are those stupid stereotypes of lazy or just want to do bad or what. Like everything to like harm you and dehumanize us as people. It's like, no.
Yep.
So I rock with it. I've never knocked anyone for them either wanting to be together and just keep it, a black husband, black wife situation, or mix it up, whether it be like us or reverse, whatever the case is. I don't knock it, because at the end of the day, dog, we're just looking for love. We're looking for equality. It just, we just want to have that American dream that we talk about. We just want to build a family, live respectfully, and just be happy.
And I think either way you cut it, there are strength in numbers. So if you keep the black family dynamic, obviously there's strength in numbers there of continuing that legacy. But there's also strength in numbers of, if you are in an interracial relationship, again, you have somebody who is teaching you and opening your mind to a whole new way of life that you didn't understand before. And you have this other person who is starting to be more accepting and open-minded. I think that's the thing at the end of the day. with interracial relationships, you have to be a very open-minded person. You have to be accepting and you know, because obviously if you're racist or if you're just very close-minded, you're not going to be open to the benefits that you can actually get from an interracial relationship that you can't get otherwise. It's very fascinating.
Pretty much.
I love it. It's a very interesting journey, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. We covered a lot in this episode. I just want to say, if you guys have made it to this far, shout out to you. I appreciate you.
We gave you 100%. Extra we told you it was going to be mad deep. An hour and a half later, we weren't kidding.
I would love for you guys to share this episode, not because of me wanting to get views or plays or whatever.
Awareness.
Yeah, I just that's what it's about. Because what I plan on doing with this episode is passing it to all my friends that I feel like may be a bit hesitant or may not have a clear understanding as to why we say Black Lives Matter or as to why this is so important. And I just want them to listen to this whole episode. So I would love for everyone to do the same, to educate someone that you feel like is not educated. If you don't want to share this episode, that is fine. Take the time to have these conversations with the family. I saw earlier on Twitter, this girl was saying how she's so upset because she wants to scream at her family because they're not understanding why this is important.
I feel that.
And
I feel that.
I love that. These conversations are not going to be easy, but we
Yep.
It needs to happen.
Again, the unfortunate thing I will say, you can't change closed-minded people's opinions, unfortunately, and it is more difficult if they are of an older generation because they are so stuck in their ways. And again, it could be innocent. Isn't necessarily like, hey, I'm a full-blown racist, but there's a good meme on this where it showed there's like a little part of a mountain and it's like you're authentically not racist. Then there's this whole bunch of like, you can be in the back of your mind racist. You can be subliminally racist. You can be like, oh, I was just joking. It's not a joke. Like there's different ways that you're not being helpful. So, and I think with the older generation, we see a lot more of that. So unfortunately, I get what she's saying. It's just, it's more difficult sometimes to change their minds. And I think that's where we have to put our energy and focus into the current generations, either our age-ish and upcoming. We need to continue the progress forward. We can't worry as much about the past because, again, like, people are so stuck. But, like, we can make a better future. I do believe it. I don't know if I'll see it in my lifetime, unfortunately, because that's how long this stuff drags on, clearly. But I do believe it.
Yeah. I'm with it. With that being said, I'm exhausted of this conversation.
Seriously. Whew. And it's hot today.
But again, I can't stress how much I appreciate you guys, those of you that have made it to the end of this. I wish I could shake everyone's hand that did make it to the end of this, because I know a lot of people probably won't listen to the whole thing. It's fine. I don't blame you. But man, just know that, love and appreciation is there for those people that made it to the end of this.
And at the end of the day, I said it the other day, love, peace, and kindness. That's all. Yeah. Just for everybody. Just be that way.
What are we going to do? This is America, right?
We can try. With
that being said, we're going to wrap this bad boy up. Let us know your thoughts. We would love to get your words of whatever, and we would share them on the next episode through email or through voice message at anchor.fm. Everything in the description of this episode. We appreciate you 100%. With that being said, guys, I'm Shadell, co-host of Paging the Simpsons. I'm joined by my lovely wife,
Lauren.
We will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Peace out.